What we're going to show in this short video is the use of these one-piece plastic frames. These frames come in different sizes. You can get the full depth Langstroth. This is the medium or three-quarter Langstroth, also known as sometimes as Dadant Shallow in this country, in the UK. They come like this, but they need to be waxed. And the main part of this video is showing how we wax them. But before we do that, I thought we'd show you two colonies that are on these frames and show you how you're getting on. Up till fairly recently, these were both 5-frame nukes on these size colonies, on these size frames rather. In fact, it's not as small as it looks, because in terms of area, this is about the same size as a national brood frame. They were on 5-frame nukes, but we've given them 5 extra frames of pre-drawn comb, which we took from another colony, which had been used for the honey supers. It's one of the advantages of using the same size frames throughout a hive is, of course, that once you've had your first honey crop, you've got drawn comb, which you can use in the brood chambers of new colonies for making increase. So these are a 5-frame nuke, each of them, using our own queens, which we reared here in South Devon, and they've been given an extra 5 frames. It'll be interesting to see how they're getting on there. But I'm also going to give each of them another whole box full, so that they go into the winter on 2 brood chambers. And the advantage of that is that actually is the same volume as a jumbo Langstroth, but you've got smaller frames. You've got the same size frame throughout the hive. Easier for manipulation, easier for making increase, because big frames I find quite awkward. And in fact, you can't get, as far as I'm aware, Dadant sized or jumbo Langstroth sized frames in plastic. You can use plastic foundation, but you'd have to put it inside a wooden frame, because you can buy sheet plastic foundation. So what I'm going to do next is light the smoker, get dressed, and then we'll have a look inside these hives. Right, we're now dressed for the bath. We've got our smoker. I've given the bees a bit of a puff of smoke. I'm not going to do a full inspection. Really the main thing is actually to get the new brood chambers on, the extra brood chambers, so the sooner they can get busy with those, the better. So what I'm going to do actually is just lift the feeder and the roof off together, because there'll be bees underneath the feeder. That doesn't matter, because what I'm going to do is, it's actually quite light, so they've obviously had a good go at that syrup. And here are the bees, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. They have certainly expanded onto a couple of the frames. These are pre-drawn. I'll just pull out this one, and that's a plastic frame that they've drawn out. It's the one right at the end, furthest away. The original colony, the nuke, was down here, so what I'm going to do is just have a look here, one of the one's frames. And there's actually quite a lot of nectar in there. Well, nectar, it's sugar syrup, of course. They're storing the sugar syrup, which is what I want them to do. They're probably just continuing brood rearing in the original 5 frames. That's all sugar syrup. Very heavy. All syrup started to cap it, in fact. That's good stuff. That's what I want them to do. Get them through the winter with all that lot. It's also why they need another brood chamber. Needs more space. That's brood, and a lot of nectar, a lot of syrup rather. Lots of sealed brood, syrup in every empty cell. Obviously, we've got to be careful we don't stop the queen, give the queen no space to lay. Fortunately, I've got quite calm bees at the moment. There's the queen, difficult to see perhaps. she's just here. Blue spot. She's unclipped. Should be able to see is the queen. She's near the top of the frame, just wandering across to the right. She's just on the right in a melee of bees. You can see that most of those cells have got nectar in. The queen's just... And what I'm going to do now is actually just a puff, because get them down a bit. We don't squash any when we put the hive thing back on. I'm just going to put the new brood chamber straight on. I'll have a look at one in a minute. I'm just going to put that straight on. And that's that one done. Here's a frame that's been drawn out by the bees. You can see by the dark areas that it's been used for brood in the past. See how close we can get, but really looking at it like that, it's really not distinguishable from comb that had been drawn from wax. The only thing that makes it slightly different when you know what to look for is that the bottom of the cells is quite dark. It actually makes spotting eggs very, very easy because you're looking against a black background with these black frames. And I've had no problem with the bees drawing out the wax on these frames. They do it very readily. The main thing is they have to be waxed properly, and that's what we'll show in a moment. So put that hive back together and we'll go back to the garage. Welcome to the shed. We're going to do waxing of some plastic frames. We'll do some close-ups in a moment, but essentially what we've got is a bench covered in plastic to cover the wood and protect it because the wax goes everywhere. Got a fleece roller, not a sponge roller, it's a 4-inch fleece roller, quite cheap, you can buy from decorating shops. And on the bench I've put some bits of wood. You don't have to use 2 longer bits would work, but these are what I've got to hand. They're only 2x1. It's not essential, but the idea is that they fit under here and they support the frame. So when you're pressing down on the wax, you're pressing down on a flat surface, and the opportunity to warp the frame is reduced. The wax is at about 70 odd degrees, about 75 degrees. When you first put the roller in, you need to let it warm up, so just going to stick it there. It'll take a few minutes. This shows the wax in a stainless steel bucket, floating in a bucket of water, a bath of water. And that's the way to hold the roller. If you turn it the other way up, it can fall off.
Not to go too quickly, especially if you wear glasses.
Let all the wax slip off.
Because the wax goes everywhere.
And that's one you can use now.
And again, the other thing is just one roller full is enough for one side of these smaller frames. Keep doing it as it cools. Get to a stage where the little roller start to go hairy again. That's it, it's finished. Well, that one's done. Put it on the hard body, which is just over here. Celebratory cup of tea, some slip of tea. Getting a bit closer so you can see what's happening. Roll up, it's quite slow, up and down. I say if you do it too quickly, the wax goes everywhere. That's one side. Just keep doing it as the wax cools. And you'll magically see it starts to really coat the hexagons. A bit more of a close-up, you can see what's happening. And you'll see the way the wax changes colour as it cools and how it starts to cover the hexagons. That's all you have to do. See also how the roller goes back to its hairy stage. That's when it's done.